All right, we will call the meeting to order. It is the Parks and Rec Advisory Board on July 17th at 7 p.m. Can you please call roll? Mr. Burkover? Mr. Bricker?
Here.
Ms. Cunningham?
Here.
Mr. Dalton?
Here.
Mr. Hayward? Ms. McWinney?
Here.
Mr. Rush?
Here.
Ms. Thompson?
Here.
Councilman Browning?
Here.
Vice Chairwoman Hibinger?
Here.
And Chairwoman Lash?
Here.
Can I have a motion to excuse Mr. Hayward and Ms. Brookover?
Motion to excuse.
Second.
Second.
Can you call roll, please? Mr. Bricker?
Yes.
Ms. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Dalton?
Yes.
Ms. McWinney?
Yes.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
Councilman Browning?
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Hibinger?
Yes.
And Chairwoman Lash? Yes. All right, I'm going to pass it to Elaine because we need to do the election of the chair and co-chair.
Yeah, my apologies that did not make it onto the agenda. So we can, if you're okay with it, proceed with doing an election of chair and vice chair. So I will start and see if there are any nominations for a new chairperson.
I would nominate Allison.
Yeah, can Allison continue? Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just,
Allison, yes, I second.
You got this.
Nobody wants to.
Is there any
know.
other
Do
nominations?
you want to?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
I'm just giving everyone an opportunity.
Are there any other nominations? And okay, then we'll close the nominations. And I'm going to go ahead and call the roll. So, Mr. Bricker,
Yes.
Ms. Cunningham,
Yes.
Mr. Dalton,
Yes.
Ms. McWinney,
Yes.
Mr. Rush,
Yes.
Ms. Thompson,
Yes.
Councilman Browning,
Yes.
and Ms. Hibinger,
Yes.
and Ms. Lash.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to now take nominations for a new vice chair or renominations.
Dee Dee? No,
I
nominate Dee
would
Dee.
nominate Diana. I second.
Okay. Do we have any other nominations? Okay, I'm going to close the nominations. Dee Dee, do you accept that?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. And I will call the roll. Mr. Bricker,
Yes.
Ms. Cunningham,
Yes.
Mr. Dalton,
Yes.
Ms. McWinney,
Yes.
Mr. Rush,
Yes.
Ms. Thompson,
Yes.
Councilman Browning,
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Hibinger,
Yes.
and Chairwoman Lash.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on then to the approval of our meeting minutes from the June 19th meeting. And just as a reminder, if you read them, you can vote on it. Can we have a motion to approve?
Yes, so moved.
Second.
Okay, can you call roll, please?
Mr. Bricker,
Yes.
Ms. Cunningham,
Yes.
Mr. Dalton,
Yes.
Ms. McWinney,
Yes.
Mr. Rush,
Yes.
Ms. Thompson,
Yes.
Councilman Browning,
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Hibinger,
Yes.
Chairwoman Lash.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to public comments. Any public comments? Yes. Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Do I have the duty?
Where did it go? And before you start, if you can just state your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, my name is Eric Vessels. My address is 50 Snowberry Drive in Delaware. And so I wanted to come to talk a little bit about disc golf. I had reached out a couple of meetings ago. My buddy Dave and I just showed up here and introduced ourselves to Ted. And that got us into a conversation as he was thinking about some things revolving around disc golf. So I just wanted to, I got a short presentation. I'll try to make it as quick as possible. what do I hit to go next? That one. Okay. That's Dave. He couldn't be here tonight, so we're going to skip his slide. That's me. I am a PDGA member, which is the Professional Disc Golf Association. It doesn't mean you're a professional. It just means you are a member of an association. There are professionals in the game. A member of Disc Golf Box's street team. I also have my own disc golf blog that I write about, and I also do a lot of photography around disc golf as well. So one of the reasons that we're wanting to meet you guys and meet Ted and have a good relationship is one of the things we want to advocate for is to grow the sport in the city, around the city, and also advocate for potentially a new course within the city limits to kind of grow the sport as well. So some facts about disc golf, and for those of you that don't know, it's just exactly like golf. There's usually 18 holes. Instead of a hole that you put a ball into, there's a disc that you put in the basket that you saw in the first picture. So these are some discs. And believe it or not, they actually are like drivers. This is a driver. The shape and weight kind of helps it to go farther. So that's why you want that in a driver. This is being a mid-range. The shape's a little different. So it has a little bit of a different flight pattern. You're looking for it, to get close to the basket. And then this will be a putter. So it's shaped way different. So you're looking for this to go straight and true and into the basket. So it's a growing sport. I just looked up some stats from PDGA. Overall, 15% membership increase. In Ohio, the number of PDGA member numbers went up from 2016 to 2017 by 95%. There's a lot more people playing the sport in the state than there were just a year ago. One great thing about it is it's all ages. You see kids 12 years old, you see older people playing it and playing it well because it's an easy, low impact sport. Excellent exercise. Typically I get 8,000 steps out of a round of golf, or disc golf. And it also, typically you're out in nature, which is also enjoyable. There's over 4,000 tournament events annually. It's a very active sport, that even though it's more underground. So this is a kind of a view of the actual membership growth. You can see from just 2008, there was around 13,000. And at the end of 2017, there were 41,000 members. Now, these are just people that have a PDGA member. I would say that's probably less than a third of the actual people that play. I play casual rounds with people that they don't have numbers. But typically when you sign up to do a sanctioned tournament, you have a PDGA number that you plug in. It gets you a ranking, and those are anywhere from 800 to the pros are in the thousands, 1,040 or whatever. And there are guys that make a living traveling around the U.S. doing this. The top tier, 10 guys probably make between 80 and 100,000. Just going weekend to weekend, winning maybe $2,000 a weekend, going from event to event, but they win consistently because they're that good. So it's definitely a growing sport. You can see the disc golf course growth has exploded since the mid-90s, which is mid-90s is when I first started doing it. And I actually laid down all my discs and got caught up with family and kids and stuff, and was moving one time and found my original discs, and that was about 5 years ago. And I was like, I need to go. So I started back up. But you can see total courses, the United States and international courses, there is a big growth internationally, and a lot of the larger tournaments are even happening internationally. But in the U.S. is definitely where the courses are growing. That brings me to the Delaware Flight Club. We are a brand new club that is revolved around a bunch of friends that play. Definitely a takeoff of the Brad Pitt, Ed Norton movie Fight Club. So we actually say the first rule about Flight Club is always talk about Flight Club, right? Because we want to grow the sport and get more people involved. And that's our primary goal. And that's one of the reasons that we're here, is kind of outreach, developing those relationships, potentially establish a championship course within city limits, because we would like to attract better players, better events, because some players like myself that are at the novice level or even intermediate level like to go watch the really good players play. Same as golf or any other sport, you get the following among the better players. So this was actually our first Dave. That's Dave in pink. One thing, when you meet Dave, you'll notice that all of his discs are pink. All his clothing is pink. His nickname is Pink Chaos. I think he just decided to do that so he could always find his discs when he threw them in the woods. So pink is a really easy color to find, pink and orange. We ran our first tournament, and this was at Gordon Holton, actually, just north of the city. And we had over 50 players, first time out, first time we'd ever run a tournament. So we were super jazzed about that. That's probably a typical Motley crew that you'll see playing a disc golf tournament. It's very male dominated and male heavy. One of the things that Dave and I have talked about is one of the outreach things that we're going to do is really try to get more females involved in the sport, get more younger girls involved, and come up and play. So how can you guys help? Obviously be a partner, potentially identify land for a new course development. That's something that would be difficult for any private individual to do on their own, and also an ongoing relationship. One of the things that you'll notice about players, disc golf players, is they take their courses, their home courses, very seriously. You'll find guys out there with their own mowers, with their own equipment, upkeeping, clearing out what needs to be cleared out, hauling it off, raking, trash. That's one thing that we want the club to be able to do within the city. And just FYI, our first tournament we raised somewhere between $300 and $400 for the club. And some of those activities that we're going to fund are going to be outreach. We'd like to be like in parades and give out little mini discs and just spread. There's a lot of programs. And one of the reasons I handed out that sheet is because it goes into a lot more detail about some of the things that we want to do. We want to do some school outreach. Disc golf is perfect as a low impact rec sport, something that anyone can get into, and also help organize community outreach events as well. So there are a few sites. I won't waste a lot of time on this because this is something that we're going to hopefully be helping to be involved in. But this is over by where I live, over by the new dog park. Looks like approximately 41 acres that are owned by the city and potentially available. That would be one potential. And then this is the other one over by the Y. There's a plot. One is really open, a square that's really open, and a square that's really wooded that looks to be about 32 acres. For a new championship level course, you want to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 to 2 acres per hole, somewhere in that area. So 32 to 40 is kind of somewhere where you want to be. So some things about disc golf courses, they're inexpensive really to install and upkeep. There really isn't a whole lot other than maybe some land development stuff. That usually is the heaviest duty stuff, is you sometimes got to cut down some trees, move some land, do some things like that. But in terms of the actual facilities, it's 18 baskets and potentially some concrete or some tee pads and some signage. But that usually, I've been exchanging information with Ted on that. That usually comes in relatively reasonable for a larger park installation. It's a low impact exercise. It enhances existing parks, and obviously has a good community impact from a health and wellness standpoint, and just from a exercise. It's also environmentally friendly. There's very low impact. It actually can enhance the looks of a potential plot. And like I said before, players and clubs take an active role. And if you can draw in some tournaments that are going to bring in either regional pros, we do have pros in the Columbus area, a couple of guys that are 1,000 rated guys, but drawing in regional pros and even international pros can have a really large local impact, because players want to be registered, they want to come see, they want to potentially come compete at a lower level, but be there hanging out with the big pros, so it can have a good local impact. These are our current courses, so you can see there's plenty of places to play, but there isn't anything like directly in the city, like right in Delaware. So that's the courses that we end up playing for the most part are Gordon Holton, up by the state park, Alum Creek, obviously, and since I live on the farther eastern side of town. That ends up being the closest to me. Very awesome course. And then there's one in Sunbury and a couple other small courses. So there definitely are places to play, but nothing currently directly in the city. So that's it. Any questions?
What would the size of, I played Olive Creek before.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of that, how many acres that course would entail. Seems pretty spread out.
Alum Creek is pretty spread out. That's probably, I don't know the exact acre. That's a good question. I don't know what the exact acreage of that is, but that's a larger plot. But they have the benefit, that course has the benefit of it being a larger park.
Right.
It's got the interesting thing about it is what you ideally want in a course is terrain that's different.
Right.
And that's the one challenging thing that we'll probably have within the city is both of the potential areas that I've highlighted are relatively flat, which is not a bad thing. People that live in flat places play on flat disc golf courses, just the way it is. They maybe make the holes a little bit longer to make them challenging. I would say Alum is probably in the range of 40 acre, 40, 48, somewhere in that range. It's a larger course.
I played at a disc golf course down in Lancaster.
Yeah.
And it's all wooded. And it's real, you're going in deep. Would you rather have a wooded area or would you rather have a flat area?
As a player, I would rather have a bit of both. I tend to find most enjoyment in a course that has an open area that's, for lack of a better word, where I can kind of wing it, or I can just like throw it as hard as I can. And there's not much downside to that. And then a more technical part of the course where you're navigating trees and you really have to pick a good line and maybe you don't throw it as hard. So I tend to enjoy kind of a mix, which is one of the reasons why the area on the over by the Y is interesting, because it has like just a field completely open and then a really dense wooded area that would make for an interesting mix of things where you can, because it requires the player to mix up their game, right? They can't just be a long thrower, right? And they can't also just be a real technical thrower either.
Do you have a course that you would model it after? I mean, I know, like, you speak of that, like, I think of Glacier Ridge as being similar to that.
Glacier Ridge is real similar.
But I know the downside to Glacier, at least that I've heard, is they keep their heather about 10 feet tall. And so if you throw it in there, good luck finding your disc.
And it's a wind tunnel. There's certain times of the year where if you throw it and the wind catches it, I just don't even look for it.
Right.
That's gone. It's like, I mean, it just travels way over there.
I probably played half a dozen in Central Ohio. I found Alum Creek confusing. I think it's the signage is very bad.
It is.
And I think they have, if I remember right, they have 2 different baskets out there.
Well, here's what they've done at Alum Creek. So Alum Creek has tried to take a course that was originally modeled for recreation, and they've tried to turn it into a championship course by moving the tee pads back, placing another basket farther out,
Right.
and a lot harder. So you end up not knowing there's literally 3 tee pads for every hole. So it does get confusing.
Well, that's
and
what
the
we
signage
found
is,
was we get to the what we think is the tee pad, but it's really the professional. It's the longer tee pad,
Yeah.
and not the short. And we didn't know where to.
or you
throw.
get to hole 12 and the next hole is G, and you're like, what? I'm lost here.
Right.
But it's
Yeah,
Alum is
the sign's
currently
good.
Alum's currently in a growing period. They're trying to attract these, and to attract the pros. There's pros that are throwing 600 feet, and I mean, I can't. If I throw 300, I'm pretty happy, relatively happy. There's pros that throw 600 feet. So if your hole is 300 to 400 feet, they're like, it's not very. They're going to some other courses. They're going to, like I said, Europe, where they're building courses that had 1,200-foot holes. That's just the way it is. So Alum is in a growing pain period. They need better signage. They do have awesome people there that are working on the course, guys that I know that have been there for years working on it. So they do have that as a benefit for sure. So I don't really have anything in mind that's modeled. What Dave and I really want to do is just, it's there's no real motive that we have other than growing the sport, having more places to play, having more places we can hold a tournament, where we can hold a clinic for kids, where we can do, new and interesting stuff. So what I would recommend is to work with a PDGA professional, maybe even a local pro that's been involved in course development before. And I'm sure we can find someone that would be interested to help to do that. And then kind of just based upon the available land, okay, here's what we can do. And then make decisions based on that, because you've got certain constraints that are just, they are what they are. So we want to be a resource. We want to have, develop an ongoing relationship, grow the sport. We hope to, do some cool things, and there's going to be times when we could use your help, and hopefully we'll get that when it's appropriate. So nice to meet you guys, and thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. And we will, Wetland Park is one where we want to explore disc golf a little bit more and see if that'll work in there. So we'll be looking at that.
This is a public hearing, let me also say something. Right? Hi, I'm Tom Orwell. I'm a member of the Shade Tree Commission, I know a little bit about disc golf as well. I know what's happening at the Delaware State Park, at the Elm Creek State Park, and I'm not opposed to that at all. One concern that I do have, however, is as follows. If we establish a disc golf course in the city of Delaware in a wooded area, as Eric stated, those discs go everywhere in all directions. People chase after them, and in short time, the vegetation in those woods, the shrubs, the plants, everything will be trampled down. It looks like like a herd of 1,000 elephants, have gone through that. So the wooded area near the Y is probably, from my point of view, speaking on behalf of the Shade Tree Commission, may not be ideal. However, I know the area in the wetlands area very well, the former Cactus Hollow campground. It was many, many moons ago. There's a beautiful lake there. I think that would be an ideal area. It's not only flat, there's actually some hilly areas. You could establish a golf course, around the lake, next to the existing, railroad tracks. There is a lot of acreage, parking would be no problem. I think that would be a good location that I can support. There are some woods, there are some individual trees there, but not, a dense wooded area per se. So from my point of view, that would be the preferred area. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. So you'll keep us up to date then?
Yes.
Ted, you're looking in the wetland park. Okay.
Yeah, the master plan, we want to kind of work at the Wetland Park master plan this year yet, so you'll be seeing copies of that coming.
Okay. So then we'll move on to the update of YMCA.
Good evening. How's everybody?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. So you received the report. Any questions or anything that I need to clarify as far as the report goes? No? All right. Well, a few things I'll point out. The Dave Staley Triathlon is coming up in August. That is August 12th. We do need as many volunteers for that as possible. So we would hope that this board would be willing to take part in that. That is a huge event that's within the park as well as out into the city. So we need as many people there as we possibly can get. And then the Doggy Dive-In would be the next thing on the calendar for the year, which is in September, September 8th. those are two events. The Doggy Dive-In, there's not many volunteers needed, but it is a great event. If you have a dog, bring them down to watch them play and swim. We have a lot of vendors at that event that would, the dogs would enjoy, people enjoy. I think last year we had over 100 dogs attend that event. So it is a fun time, had by owners and dogs. So, and then of course the pumpkin run would be in October. That's usually the same time as the Halloween event. You know, that's a big day for us. We usually have all hands on deck on that day. The Halloween event usually attracts close to 1,000 people. So we would definitely need assistance with that as well. If anyone was interested in cooking hot dogs or helping pass out food or, you know, manning the station, that'd be great. We have a pumpkin patch that we have that day as well, that we have to have manned. So all those things are things that we desperately need help for in the upcoming months. We'll let you know staffing wise. Our wellness director, Jacob Hiddle, has taken a new position with the city of Columbus, so he will be leaving. So that leaves me running the races, which will be fun. I've ran them before, so hopefully I hadn't forgotten how. But and we're in the final stages of hiring a facilities director. So hopefully we'll have all those positions filled in the next few months and be fully staffed again. So, questions, comments?
Remind me why Mingo's closed for Ironman.
Because you can't get to it. It's packed and people park there. It's a shuttle place for the
Did you
Ironman.
guys close last year?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Just with the traffic
No, I get it.
and
No, it's fine.
trying to get people in and out of the park. That's one of the, I think Mingo has good and bad. It's one way in, one way out, which is a good thing and a bad thing.
Sure.
So the traffic can get very congested in that area. And as far as our staff being able to get there, and then, you know, patrons who may want to use the pool, it's a pretty difficult time to get in and out of Mingo.
No, I completely understand.
Yeah.
Just wondering.
And Jeremy, I know you just had the first movies night at Mingo last Friday.
Yes.
How'd that go?
From what I understand, it went pretty well.
Okay.
I think they had 30, 40 people that attended the event. So the movies at Mingo have started. I don't know what the next movie is. Roger's on vacation this week, so I wasn't able to get that information from him.
It's Elf,
Elf?
and it's Friday because it's Christmas in July.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it will be an Elf movie.
You're supposed to dress up like it.
I
Get that
will
memo?
not be dressing up that day. But those are very well attended, as well as Harmony in the Park. So those both are going on right now. And Roger does a fantastic job of running both of those events, and he loves doing them. So, you know, it shows.
He loves the kids.
Yeah.
And mornings when we're out there with our tennis, and Roger's out there with the kids, the camp kids, and he's, wait a minute, that's Roger.
Yeah, he's a kid.
He's a kid.
Yeah.
He's loving it.
I have to wrangle him like a kid too. Come inside, Roger.
I don't have my packet in front of me, so I apologize if I'm repeating this, but has there been a change, or can anyone get into the Mingo pool with a Y pass
If you are a member of our branch,
of Delaware?
yes.
But did it used to be Powell also?
No. It was just our branch. If you're a member of RY, you could get in. Anybody else had to pay a day pass.
Okay.
Now, you can get a Jack Florence pool membership, which is separate from the Y membership.
Yes.
But-
There was I've had a couple of people reach out to me recently about that,
Mhm.
and they last year were getting in with it. And
Yeah,
this year
and
weren't.
they probably shouldn't have.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
we've
it wasn't
never,
a change, it was just that
No.
they got by.
right, it's just that they got by. We've
Okay.
never had it established or set that, you know, anybody other than Delaware Y members got into Jack Florence pool.
Okay, that's good to know.
which we have to deal with. Some of our Y members are not very happy across our association, but you know, once we explain that it's city partnership, city ran pool, we just manage it, you know, so it's part
Jerry,
of the
are you
perks.
the one that handles pool chairs and umbrellas or anything, or is that through Ted's budget?
That's through ours.
That's through yours?
Mhm.
We, I just been hearing a lot that I think all the umbrellas now are officially broken.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I've heard a lot of people not very happy about that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it is what it is. but-
Right, and we do have them in the budget for next year to get some more. They're just, it's one of those things that break on a daily basis at most part. But we do allow people to bring canopies and umbrellas and tents if they want to. But we do have on our budget to bring in more chairs as well as, we bought chairs this year.
Mhm.
We'll bring in more chairs next year as well as umbrellas. Now they'll probably be broken by the end of summer, but it's a lot of use in a matter of 3 to 4 months.
Any other questions for Jeremy? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
We'll move on.
Oh, if you're wanting to sign up for the Dave Staley, please just shoot me an email. Let me know that you're wanting to help out, and I will get you the information of when to be there and where you'll be and everything else. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the updated parks activities.
Just well, a quick, one thing, we've had the championships, GLAC championships at the Flamingo Pool yesterday and today. So I've been very busy out there, and I know the staff has been packed out there too. So but it's gone over really well, I think.
Very well, thank you.
Good. Haven't heard anything else bad about it, so it's been good.
The only complaint that I've really heard is a complaint that was just mentioned, that there's no umbrellas and there's not enough chairs.
Mhm.
But being a parent of a swimmer, I don't really know how you can predict how many people are going to come, because for one family, you might have 6 people.
Yeah.
You might only have 1. You might not have any.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
weather helps, but
Yeah, it's been extremely hot too, so umbrellas would have been helpful in that, but. The only thing else I wanted to go over is the cemetery master plan. We're actually getting ready to dive. We should be getting some good concepts back here soon. We're on schedule to probably complete that in August or September. So you'll be getting some updates on that. The rec levy, if you remember, we earlier in the year, we kind of laid out some of those projects. One of the projects that we almost have completed is the blue limestone basketball courts. They've been, the concrete's been poured, looking at getting the court surface on there next month. And the Community Coalition is really excited about that. They'll probably start programming that this year still. So that's been moving forward. We're looking at getting Mingo lighting going, new lights in the gym. So that should be coming soon. And just we want to kind of keep moving on those park improvements. But there'll be some very good improvements that I think it will make a lot of citizens happy. The pickleball, we've been moving forward with that too. We got new lines out of Smith Park. I don't know if you've been out to Smith Park, but they have been using it a lot. I actually played last Saturday, and it's kind of fun. I like it. It's a good workout too. So but they're a very good group. They're very friendly, and they've been getting a lot of people involved. So if you want to try it, go out there and give it a try. I can send you their schedules. They're out there on Saturday mornings, Wednesday nights, most mornings. I think Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday during the week in the mornings. But some of them are pretty aggressive too, so be careful.
That's our warning.
I'm sorry?
Is that our warning?
Yeah. Yeah, they'll break you in, and then they just kind of set you up. So, but it's been good, and we're looking at working with them more. They're going to actually they're getting set up tournament next month. Is it, Linda? Next month they're going to bring a tournament to Delaware, and this will be interesting to see because this group of sport is growing, and they're going to bring a lot of people to Delaware, and they go to Mount Vernon and other Marysville places now. So it'll be nice to bring them to Delaware.
To Smith Park.
Yep, to Smith Park.
Is that typically played doubles or singles too?
It's probably both. I don't know what the tournament format is going to be, whether they'll do more doubles, but So at Smith Park, right now we've got 6 courts out there on the tennis courts, and the tennis courts can still be used too. We didn't take the nets down or anything. They bring the portable nets, put them right up in there, and it's good multi-use. And that was all the updates I had right now.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Ted? All right, then we'll move on to the discussion of smoking restrictions at city parks.
So we had, you guys had made the recommendation for smoking restrictions. And when it went to city council as a discussion item, we talked about one of the items was adding Hidden Valley Golf Course to that smoking ban. And I would recommend that also. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's, again, it's something where if it's a nuisance where there's a lot of people around, which it isn't a lot of times out there, that's when it would become a problem where someone might get called in. But other than that, I think it would be probably, if we're going to ban in parks, we probably should include Hidden Valley Golf Course also. I just wanted to see what your thoughts were on that and see how you wanted to kind of look at that.
So city council was suggesting that they were leaning that way?
Yeah, there was one member. So, I mean, I think they kind of felt that. I mean, Councilman Brown could kind of maybe comment on that a little bit too. I know Councilman Hellinger kind of brought it up. So, and I thought it was a valid point.
George is, everything's very black and white and consistent or not consistent. So that's his personality.
Yeah.
And it's good and bad at times. But I think that was the only comment that he had. He also voted against beer at the golf course. So I think there's an argument there to be consistent across the board, but I also understand why this body recommended the way it was. So my hunch is that I think it'll probably pass either way, but I think it'll be close. I think it'll be 4-3 or right around there. Because there's one big cigar smoker on council, and most of the people aren't smokers, but they have friends and that sort of thing. So I think it'll be close.
Have there been complaints of people at the golf course smoking?
No complaints at the golf course. And again, the whole reason this came up was a lot of Little League and baseball games.
Right.
We had issues where people were smoking. So that's where the complaints have really come from, but nothing really at the golf course.
Has there been any research on the surrounding communities that have taken smoking bans and if they've included golf courses?
A lot of times they exclude the golf courses just because it is a little more wide open, but and that's kind of the route we took also. So, but I can't say they all did that, but a lot of the examples I saw, they did exclude golf courses.
I personally would like to exclude it.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay.
I understand their preference, but I also think that knowing that they get frustrated when the rounds of golf don't pay for the upkeep, I think they have to know that this could, again, decrease the rounds of golf played.
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, I understand if they want to ban it, but that they understand that it's probably be more money out of the coffers to keep upkeep, I guess you could say, to Hidden Valley.
Yeah.
Because it could potentially exclude players.
Right.
But then again, you have to consider, why did we go ahead and allow beer to be sold at Hidden Valley? Was to increase the number of people that want to play.
Right. Yeah, to offer that as another option.
So we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot if we.
Yeah, exactly. So if we're going to ban tobacco, might as well just take away the beer license as well.
And we can keep the recommendation as it is then, if that's the how the board would like to move forward.
And this is something that always could be revisited in the future as well. But I don't know if once we add the alcohol and we have our policy as is, and let's say we allow smoking, I don't know if we could ever get a sense for how much smoking occurs on it. My guess is it could be somewhat significant, but maybe not. It's hard to say.
Mm-hmm. And if we did get a lot of complaints in the future of it, then we may consider it again. But yeah, right now we do not get a lot of complaints about that. So
Yeah, I mean, I play out there quite often. I can't say, and I don't smoke. I can't say I've ever had any issues with people in front of me or behind me or anything else.
I just think it's a very different entity than a public park.
And I think what was driving our issue from the beginning was the kids.
Yeah.
Which this would be.
Well, that, and I think it's, golf is so spread out.
Right.
It's a foursome at a time at the most versus a Little League baseball game where there's literally 75 people crammed around home plate.
Correct.
Trying to watch a game that involves a lot more people. I think that's where everyone's issues were.
So I guess I'm getting the sense we just move forward with the recommendation as it is. Okay.
And then what are the next steps with that though? Is city council voting on it? Are they?
I believe maybe next month or September.
We'll look at finishing up the ordinance.
Okay.
And then it'll probably go before council sometime. I'm thinking the second meeting in August, at which then we'll need to have a public hearing established. So we're hoping that would be in September. But I will obviously keep you up to date and email you on when it's going out.
And thank you for showing up at our last council meeting. I think that's helpful. Yes.
Will the ban include the whole park or just around the ball fields?
Whole park.
The whole park.
The whole park.
Mm-hmm.
And how is that enforced?
You.
Right now, we're just looking at being self-enforced. And, if problems arise, then, our staff will, try to, let them know there is a ban on it. And then if that's not the case, then, the police may be called. But,
Because we currently encourage our coaches to tell parents that it's not allowed around the ball fields and everything else.
Right.
But it's the parent that goes, I'm down third base line, but your smoke's traveling back up toward me, that's the problem.
yeah. Yeah. And
We're more willing to help with that.
Yeah.
To make sure that we're on the same page as far as what
Yep.
they're allowed to, what they're not allowed to.
And we'd add signage, and most of the park districts that have adopted this, the self-enforcement has been successful. So I think we'll probably be we'll really rely on that more than anything.
And to be honest, Jeremy, we discussed that at length. That was one of our big talking points was it would be hard to just enforce it at a soccer field or a baseball field because then how far away from that field is it okay? Right. And to your point, with the smoke traveling downwind or whatever it might be, I think after much discussion, we all just agreed it would just be much easier to enforce if we were a park-wide ban versus a site ban.
Is it smoking or all tobacco?
All tobacco.
All tobacco products.
And e-cigarettes and all that. So.
Chewing tobacco and the whole nine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think we also kind of acknowledge that if an adult softball league, if there's some people chewing tobacco or whatever, we don't, it's kind of a thing that maybe if that goes on, that goes on. We're not going to be running around seeing what's going on.
Any other questions or comments about that? So do we need to do anything, Ted, or is just?
Nope, I just wanted to make sure we move forward with, your recommendation.
Discussion on bike parks.
So last meeting, this was brought up, and I wasn't an expert on bike parks, so I kind of wanted to give you some information on this. And one example we're going to look at is one in Lebanon, Ohio. They built this bike park on a landfill site. Yeah. A landfill site. Yeah. So, but there's a lot of components to a bike park. It's not just a bike park. There's different things, and we're going to go through some of those just to kind of give you a little bit on this. But we're going to play this quick video. You can go ahead, Linda, and play that video. This is the bike, but this is the pump track.
What's that material?
I believe it's asphalt.
Okay.
But, and again, I'm not an expert, and we can get more people, but yeah, there's not a lot of pedaling going on. It's just kind of and this is just like one component of a bike park. And this is the one.
Small.
Yeah, that's a small, but there's a lot of different things that go on in here.
Or not.
Yeah, I don't know if there's really any volume, but, this just kind of goes on, when we can probably go to that other
The other one?
page where they look at some of these components. So you have the pump tracks, which that was kind of just, these are very popular. There's more and more of these. And again, it's not just adults, there's kids involved in these that can be out of dirt. It's not just a hardscape material. But those are just formed, and these are very popular. The other component of this one is the bike skills area, and this I think where you can get a lot of different age brackets involved. Yeah, some of these things. It's not. There's a lot of different things to it, and I think these pictures kind of do a lot more than me talking about it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So the idea of pump track and not pedal?
I believe so. I believe it is. Yeah, it's just kind of a and then you have the mountain bike trails. This is we have a lot of these at Allen Creek right now. That may not be a component of the ones if we did one in the city, unless we had a good site for that, because I think some of these mountain bike trails require a lot more area and maybe more than we have. The jump line area, kind of similar to a pump track, but more of a BMX bike track, I guess.
This is like more skill and less distance.
Yes.
Okay. And a little crazy.
Yeah. So the reason this one in Lebanon I kind of took off is because they had a lot of local support in the community, and they got a lot of local sponsors to help build it too. There's another the cyclocross. And if we want to learn more about this, maybe we could get so I could talk to somebody in the community. Maybe we can get a local expert or someone that could kind of talk about this a little more. But that's kind of an idea of what these bike tracks are. It's a little more involved than just your typical BMX course or something that we've seen before. So they do have a lot of components like the built constructors that are in there, and I mean they're pretty neat, and they do go across a wide range of people. So.
Do you have an idea where you wanted to put that?
We have a landfill site over by
that's right.
the wetland park that we monitor, and it's across the track, so it's not easily accessible because railroad crossing is not anything that's easy to do. It's just hard to do, but that's a potential site if we did want to explore this a little bit more. So something to think about. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what an actual bike park is, and it's not as simple as what you typically come to your mind when you think of bike park. There's a lot of different things to it, and I'm not sure if this area would support something like that, but just something to think about.
So are you looking at all those components or a certain component of that?
I'm not sure. I'm not looking at anything yet, I guess. It's just kind of an idea that's out there right now, and if there's enough support in the community, and we're kind of reaching out to some of the bike community. I mean, I know Abby Trimble, who comes through the health department, she's involved in these a lot. So maybe we'll kind of reach out to some of these local groups and just kind of get an idea what their thoughts are.
After our last meeting, I contacted 2 folks that I know, and I have their information for you.
Okay.
They would be very good resources.
Good.
So I'll give them to you.
Okay.
But based on my conversations with them and them sharing, there is a very large local interest, and folks are going out of the community to competitions. And I mean, when I see these pictures, I'm looking at 50, 60 kids riding bikes on stuff like this in competitions. So I think that there's an interest.
Good.
And that was my only question. I know cyclocross is a big sport right now with lots of competition. So if you build it, I would just make sure if that's an interest, to make sure you get somebody from the cyclocross community, somebody within an organization that can help you design a track that will definitely hold those competitions, so that it serves a dual purpose. Not only does it serve the community, but it serves bringing in events. And within the cyclocross world, there may be grants or other things that you could look at as well.
Yes, absolutely.
I think too, if we can use a space that isn't being used for anything else, I mean, why not?
Yeah, I think that part of it definitely makes sense. Okay. I just wanted to kind of get you up to speed a little bit with that and let you know. So
Yes.
Any other comments about that? We'll move on then to staff comments.
Nothing really to add. We're in the middle of summer. The grass stopped growing so much a little bit. Flower pots are getting watered a little more regularly, but everything seems to be going good. And getting ready for some of our bigger events with Ironman. And so middle of summer and typically nothing really new in there.
Ted, I'd just like to add, we want to thank the Kiwanis Club for
Oh, yes.
stepping in and sponsoring and helping host the Little Brown Jug Junior Golf Classic, which was last Saturday at Hidden Valley. They had, I believe it ended up being 65 participants, which is about what they had last year. I know Josh's daughter played in it. They do a wonderful job. So it's really good to.
She swings the club.
And a lot of the kids, that's the only time they play golf too.
Yeah.
Because I kept score for one of the groups, and the one girl, I asked them all how long they'd been playing, and they all said a couple years, and one girl said, but I only play in this tournament. But they had a good time, and they all get a participation medal, and so.
I mean,
But the
$5.
Kiwanis took it over, and yeah.
So you can't enter a golf tournament for $5.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, Lynn. Yeah, but it's got a lot of history in this town with that tournament, so I'm glad we're able to keep it going, and thanks to the Kiwanis for
They
that.
do a great job.
Yes, they do.
Okay, member comments?
I just want to invite everybody out. Unfortunately, Mother Nature does not look like she's going to cooperate with us this weekend, but this Saturday is the Delaware Auto Show. So downtown Sandusky will be packed, full of cars, Mother Nature grant willing, I guess. I mean, they have a DJ. I think they had well over 500 cars last year, and all kinds of stuff set up. It'll go pretty much from Pacatans all the way down to Winter Street. Again, just lined with cars. So
What's the time zone?
I have to be there at 5:30 a.m.
I'm not
So
knowing it. Time does it start?
I think it starts officially around 9. But I know cars will get there about 6 o'clock in the morning because they all want their preferred spot.
And I think they're doing the awards at 3 or 4.
Sounds right. I know the mayor's passing out awards. They got, he used to be on ABC. He's on 10 TV now. He's a TV personality, but they're coming up here to kind of do it as well. He actually performs at a band too. He was on the Dublin Car Show a couple weekends ago. But yeah, they have lots of media coverage. So it would be good for the city because there'll be media coverage and a lot of people out and about. So it'll be good.
A couple of things. The Delaware Hayes High School tennis team is putting on a rally for the Cure tomorrow night from 4 to 8. You can come and play, have some food, and we're just taking donations for a good cause if anybody wants to come. All kids, yeah. The courts are off of Lincoln and Euclid and Lincoln. So I'm going to have little mini tennis nets up for any age who wants to come out and hit some balls. And so we're going to have food and drinks. So if anybody wants to come, you can come for a half hour, an hour, 4 hours, whatever. The girls are going to be out there to play with you if you want. You don't have to know what you're doing. And praise the guys for fixing the lights at Mingo on the tennis courts.
Okay, good.
Yeah, boy, that one fellow was so frustrated because they wouldn't shut off, and he had to keep waiting and waiting and waiting. But I think they're all working now.
Not more or less a comment, but a question, Ted. I noticed I was able to attend a birthday party for my granddaughter at the Splash Pad last month, and noticed this elderly gentleman with a walker. Unfortunately, the nearest handicap spot was 10 spots down towards the soccer fields. Is there any way that maybe Parks and Rec can maybe reconsider maybe making one of those spots near the splash pad a handicap?
Yeah, we probably don't have enough of them up by the splash pad because there's probably one up there, and then we've not one near there at all. It's right in the middle of the parking lot. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we could look at doing that, especially when, especially as we go through a resealing and repainting that. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up, though. That's always good to know.
Ted, when you're done typing, you can finish.
No, I can keep going here.
I was the Lime bikes. I wonder where that was or what we were. doing with that? We're not.
We're
doing-
still kind of waiting on the trial runs in Dublin and Worthington to see how they're doing. Josh might be able to, how's the one in Dublin doing?
They are going very well. But they're learning where they're good and where they're not good. They've had a lot of places where they dropped off bikes that they're just not moving, and a lot of places that they're moving so well they need to put more there.
Okay.
So hit and miss. Honestly, I think they're better served for this community just because of the college population. I think there's a lot more heavy car traffic where they're at in Dublin. I mean, it's great for the visitors, and they're very pleased with it, I think, so far. I think it's a better fit for Delaware just because of all the pedestrian traffic that there is in the downtown area.
Have you had a chance to use them?
No, not the ones in no.
And do you know that you can get a trial run? We had so much fun with them in Dublin. I emailed the company and asked if we could have a trial run in our town, and they said yes, but then I didn't take it any further because I didn't want to step in your toes.
Well, we tried to get a trial run where we got a couple of them in town and got a lot of people on them. But I know one of the things they were hesitant about was that they don't have a lot of, well, they're just now getting their infrastructure set up for line bikes because they have to have people come around and move those bikes around and maintain those bikes. And they thought we were close enough to Dublin and Worthington that once that infrastructure is in place, that, you know, Delaware would be an easy add-on to that. Yeah. So I think it's still in the works, but we just kind of need to, and I'll reach out to them again and just kind of see how that's going and if we can do something in Delaware. So
I thought it might be kind of cool, and you can disagree with this. I really don't care. I thought it might be kind of cool for the college kids, for some of them to ride them or try them during fair week so that they could go to the fair. Not saying a college couldn't walk that far, but it'd be fun to ride a bike.
Yeah. They'd probably prefer to ride a scooter. They have electric scooters and line
Well,
bikes.
that's just it. I think that's their other issue is that their inventory is not as big as they need it to be yet. Because I know that there's talk about electric scooters, but there's none in Dublin yet. They're still waiting on inventory. Same thing with electric bikes. There's supposed to be electric bikes too. Dublin still has none of those. So they've been promised both of those, and those are still not available yet.
And that'll all be the same kind of system as the line bikes?
Yeah, same system, just more expensive.
Yeah.
But except electric scooters, I think they take off the streets at nighttime.
Okay,
Because they can
makes sense.
cause trouble at nighttime, especially in a college town.
It's not good. Any other comments?
My athletic director wanted me to mention that we have a community day upcoming in the fall on Saturday, October 13th, for our home football game at 1 o'clock. You can get in for just bringing a can of food. There'll also be police and fire present, doing a tailgate, providing food, interacting with children, then they can get in the cars and kind of turn the sirens on and those kinds of things. Again, it's October 13th at 1 o'clock for our football game.
Anything else? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
A motion.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned at 8 o'clock. 7:59.